Hey guys, so today I am going to be making a cinnamon roll cheesecake for you guys. This combination has been on my mind for the last 2 to 3 weeks, and I don't know why it just kept popping up. So I said, come on, let's just make it. Okay, it could be bad, it could be good, let's just do it. All right, to start off the recipe, you're going to need 4 cups of all-purpose flour. You're going to need 1 and 1/4 tablespoon of active or rapid rise yeast, 1 cup white sugar, and mix these dry ingredients together first. Okay, try to get all the clumps and lumps out of there. You're going to also add 1 and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. You can use pink Himalayan sea salt, table salt, so long as it's fine salt. That's all that matters, okay? Now you're going to make a little well in the middle of your flour mixture, and you're going to add in your eggs and vegetable oil. I added in one third cup, not 1 and 1/3, 1/3 cup of vegetable oil. I use corn oil and 2 eggs. These are large eggs, and give them a little whisk. I don't know how to talk today. Well, you've heard my voiceovers. It's not always perfect. And then you're gonna add in 1 cup of warm milk. The 2 tablespoons of milk are for a little bit later, okay? So add in your 1 cup warm milk first, not hot, warm, okay? This is to help activate the yeast, okay? And you're going to mix this all together with a wood tablespoon, and this is where you're going to add in your 1 to 2 tablespoons of milk. Only add it if your dough is looking a bit too dry. This dough needs to be sticky, not like sticky to the point where it's like slimy, but it needs to be sticky like this, okay? So add 1 tablespoon at a time or 2 altogether. Just eyeball it, okay? Use your judgment. You can do this, okay? If it looks a little too dry, you can add both tablespoons. If it's kind of dry but not super dry, just add 1 tablespoon. All right, once you have that all combined with the wooden spoon, you can use a spatula if you like. Use your hands. Make sure your hands are a tiny bit wet. This actually helps the dough from sticking too much to your fingers, or you could put a tiny bit of oil on your fingers as well. I added in just a bit of flour just to kind of help get the dough off the sides, and then I'm going to add a bit of oil on the inside of the bowl to help it from sticking when the dough rises up. Okay, you want to make sure you mix in that dry flour as good as you can before adding in the oil. Okay, and you're just gonna let this rise. By the way, this is the first time I'm using a glass bowl for my doughs. Like, I did another recipe using a glass bowl, and I noticed there's a difference when it comes down to my dough that has yeast in it rising in them. It takes longer. So if unless you have a very, very, very warm kitchen, like, I mean summertime warm, but yeah, it takes longer. Anyways, once you have everything mixed up, you added your oil, cover it and set it aside in a very warm place and let it rise for about 45 minutes to an hour. Now for your cheesecake part, we're going to use 3 packs of room temperature cream cheese. Okay, you can use any brand of cream cheese that you like. I use the store brand, and you're going to whip this cream cheese. Okay, you're gonna whip it till it looks like frosting, buttercream, etc. Then you're gonna add in 1/2 cup of sour cream. Okay, doesn't have to be a perfect half cup, so long as it's kind of a half cup. Add it in there and whip your mixture again. You can do this with a hand mixer if you have one. Okay, you see how nice and fluffy it's getting? Then you're gonna add in your sugar and whip this again until that sugar dissolves. Make sure you add in white sugar. Okay, now we're gonna add in 1 teaspoon of cornstarch, and you could sift this if you like, completely up to you. I did not. Just 1 teaspoon, sprinkle it in there. Make sure you scrape the sides off of your bowl so you don't have any chunky cream cheese stuck to the sides and it's going to be all uneven. Okay, and then add in your 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract and whip this again. Okay, I start off slow, and then I put the mixer up to the highest setting to whip this together. Then I'm going to start adding my eggs. I added 3 eggs, large eggs. Okay, you can use medium eggs if you want to, but make sure it's just 3. It does not have to be large. Okay, so I'm adding in 1 egg at a time and letting this spin on a medium slow setting. And once I have all my eggs combined, I just, scrape the sides again, make sure nothing is clumped or stuck to the side, nothing is uneven, and mix this again on a higher setting, okay? And you're gonna see this is how it's gonna look. It's going to give you a consistency of pudding, like when you're mixing pudding. All right, that is your cheesecake mixing. Now we're going to make our cinnamon powder, not cinnamon powder, cinnamon sugar for the actual cinnamon rolls. So we're getting close to it being done with the rising process. So we're gonna add 1 cup brown sugar, 1/2 teaspoon of ground nutmeg, and 2.5 or 2 teaspoons, 2 teaspoons to 2.5 teaspoons of ground cinnamon. If you like a lot of cinnamon, do 2.5, okay? And we're just gonna mix this all together, and we're gonna add in 1 tablespoon of melted butter. You can use margarine if you like, just make sure you remove the water part of the margarine. When you melt margarine, the water and the fat will separate, okay? So this is how our dough looks now. It did rise, not as big as I would like, but whatever. Okay, and I believe it's the glass bowl. The glass bowl stays cool. It doesn't warm up as fast as like my stainless steel bowls. Anywho, the dough has rised, doubled in size. That's all that you need. We're gonna flour our working surface. You can do this on your countertop if it's clean. You can do this on wherever you like, but I just prefer to use my cutting board. I have a very large cutting board that I use just mainly for like baking, breads, pastries, whatever. And I'm going to roll this out to the size of my cutting board. If you don't have a large cutting board like this, you want the thickness of your dough to be about a 1/2 inch thick. The cutting board is roughly about a 14 or 16 by 14 size cutting board, okay? Just so you know. Now we're gonna add in our brown sugar, cinnamon sugar mixture and just spread this as evenly as you can. Make sure you leave some on the side. That's gonna be your topping later, at least maybe about 3 tablespoons on the side, okay? Because usually when you start rolling your cinnamon roll, some spill out, some comes out, some spills out, yes. And pick that up, put it back in the bowl. You're gonna use that later for the topping of your cheesecake, okay? So let's not waste anything, okay? Food is way too expensive these days. All right, so you're gonna take your time and gently roll your cinnamon roll. As you guys can see, I'm just taking my time and just pulling it back. And the reason why it looks so quote unquote easy and it's not sticking is because I made sure to put a large amount of flour on my cutting board or my working surface before I rolled it out. So the flour just helps to keep it from sticking to the surface of my cutting board, okay? So once you get closer to the end, you're going to start bringing the end part over like this, and then you're gonna roll it over, okay? Add a little bit of extra flour and gently roll it over. If there are parts that stick, just take your finger and lightly, lift it off. Don't try to force it, it's going to rip. Gently lift it off and, get it together. Okay. For my pan, I'm using a large springform pan. I forgot the size of this pan, but I'll list it here in the caption right here so you guys could see. And you're going to line your pan with parchment paper and you're going to cut out a circle for the bottom. For your cinnamon rolls, you're going to cut them in about 1 1/4 inch width or 1 1/2 inch width pieces, okay? And you're going to add a bowl in the middle like this. Find a bowl that has a good width that will give you enough space between the bowl and the wall of the pan so that you could fit your cinnamon rolls. Okay, the idea is that the cinnamon rolls, instead of them spreading out like they usually would if I'm making cinnamon rolls, they will rise up. You know what I mean? Rise up to build the walls of the cheesecake that is going to be in the center. All right, and try to use a bowl that doesn't have an edge like mine because it was annoying trying to take that out after the dough doubled and tripled in size. All right, for the bottom, we're going to take 1 cinnamon roll and we're going to flour our working surface, cutting board, countertop, whatever you have, just make sure it's clean. We're going to roll this out. This is going to be our bottom of the cheesecake. This is going to be the bottom crust, quote unquote crust, okay? And make sure you flour this. Don't be afraid to add the flour because there's so much sugar, butter, moisture. All of this flour will be cooked in and you're not going to notice it. It almost looks like an eye, huh? All right, so get that rolled out like this. So you can roll this out to the size of the pan that you're using to create the center, or you can roll it out to the complete size of the pan. I'm using a 10-inch springform pan, but I suggest using a 12-inch springform pan. The reason for this is because this is the first time that I have made this, and this was supposed to just be a test, but I decided to film it just in case it was successful, which it was, which it is, which I'll be making again. Okay, so use a 12-inch springform pan and line it with your cinnamon rolls, and then use another pan in the center to create your cavity. What you want is for the cinnamon rolls to be about 2 inches away from the wall of the pan and 2 inches away from the wall of the pan that's in the center. Okay, you're gonna bake this in the oven, which you should have had preheated at 325 degrees for 15 minutes. Once the 15 minutes has passed, you're going to add in your cheesecake batter that you made, your beautiful fluffy cheesecake batter. Once you get your batter in there, make sure you have your oven preheated at 325 degrees. Make sure you tap your pan. Depending on your oven, you may cook this for 25 to 35 minutes on 325 degrees. Add some milk or half and half to the roll part of the cheesecake to keep it moist and keep it from overcooking. My cheesecake cracked, which is fine. It's not going to look like that when we're done. And that's only because of my oven, because of the way it bakes things. It's a convection oven, so it gets hotter than a traditional oven. Okay, anyways, that's all going to shrink down once the cheesecake starts to cool down. All right, now we're going to make the frosting for the cinnamon roll part of the cheesecake. So I'm not making the full recipe from my other cinnamon roll video. This is just 1 cup of confectioner's sugar, a little bit of almond extract, a little bit of vanilla extract. I did 1 teaspoon almond extract, a half teaspoon vanilla extract, and I did about 2 or 3 tablespoons worth of cream cheese and a tablespoon or 2 worth of milk, or half and half. And you're just going to mix and whip this until it's this consistency. Okay, so at first I was just gonna let this drape. That was the idea, and then I was like, I'm just gonna cover the whole thing. And I liked how it looked much better once I covered everything. And remember the leftover brown sugar cinnamon roll mixture I told you to put aside? Here is where you're going to use it. It's going to top off your cheesecake. Okay, just to give it a finished look and hide those cracks. Nobody's going to know that happened, because the more this cheesecake cools down, those cracks will actually shrink and close up. I promise you they will, once you cool this down in the fridge. And then we're going to use our leftover frosting to drape this over the brown cinnamon sugar mixture. And this is pretty much the finished look. You do not want to move a cheesecake if it's still hot. Okay, if it's still hot to you, leave it alone, let it cool down, and then you can move it, or you can leave it on the pan that it's on. For the purpose of this video, I moved it when it was about room temp. Let it cool down in the fridge for about 2 to 3 hours so that the cheesecake part of this beautiful creation can set and you can enjoy it with your family. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please subscribe to this channel, like this video, comment, and share it. It doesn't take that long to do. And I'll see you guys very soon in another video. Bye, guys.